Hi and welcome to India Post Live, India's first online news conversation portal. Today we'll be talking about the Champions League semi-finals that happened, exciting games. We ask you to participate with us on Twitter at our handle, which is at India Post Live, using the hashtag India Post Live. Now, before we start, it's going to be Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid. The first time two cities, a derby match has happened in the finals, and this is a year after two German teams squared off. Let's have a look at a preview of what happened in the last matches.
This year's Champions League final will be an all-Spanish affair, the first ever between the two Madrid clubs in the tournament's history. Atletico Madrid crushed Chelsea 3-1 on Wednesday night, while Real Madrid smoked German powerhouse Bayern Munich with a 5-0 victory. Atletico will now meet Real Madrid in Lisbon on the 24th of May. Atletico and Real are also the top teams in La Liga this year. Even though Real start as frontrunners for the title, it's Atletico's unbeaten run in this competition that could make the difference. All eyes now on the 24th of May.
All right, joining us today in the studio is Chaitanya, our football expert and former journalist at Total Football. And we've got Nuri Kapadia, whose face you might have not seen, but voice you've definitely heard. He's a football expert and commentator. And we've got Deepto and Gibran joining us on Google+. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Last night's games were pretty intense, wouldn't you say? Real Madrid thrashed Bayern Munich. That was something that... Did you see that coming, Chaitanya?
Not at all.
Not at all.
You couldn't see Bayern being that tame at home. You were expecting a backlash from them at home with their crowd behind them, but they were stunned on the counter. They were just stunned on the counter and stunned on the set pieces, surprisingly, considering how organized the Bayern and the Germans are in as a whole. So I did not see that coming. They just blew them out of the water, didn't they?
They did indeed. Sir, you've been following football for the longest time. Real Madrid are hunting for La Decima. It's been 12 years since they got their last Champions League. What does this mean to the club?
No, tremendous. I mean, this is like a holy grail for them to get this 10th title, and they've been desperate. I mean, Zidane era was the last time that they, did manage this coveted prize. And they've always had these big gaps, that 5 years in a row, Di Stefano, Puskás, and then 66, then there was a long gap and they didn't win it, then they won it thrice, the Zidane and Raúl time. So now can this new generation, Cristiano Ronaldo, who's won this title with Manchester United, can he, do the double? And what they're bringing out, for me really, it's like the end of an era. That Pep Guardiola, the short passing, the tiki-taka style, has flaws been found? Has it been exposed? It was not only Barcelona who got decimated last year. Now, wherever Guardiola seems to have gone, it's somehow their defensive frailties. And the way Bayern Munich, it's not just the defeat. I've never seen a German team defend so poorly at set pieces.
Absolutely.
So question marks are being raised. I mean, is the counter-attacking style of play the new mode of success in football?
Yeah, we've seen this. It's even last season you had this tiki-taka fading out where teams like even Dortmund were pushing through and doing this fast, direct football, very physical game. So is Pep, is he the wrong man for the Bayern team, or is he the wrong man for football at the moment? Is he just not up to date anymore?
Well, I think the latter could stand true because, as Sir rightly pointed, wherever Pep Guardiola goes, counter-attacking football just chases him out everywhere. The same stats which were between Bayern and Barcelona last year were between Real and Bayern. 37% possession. Whenever they go out, they go out. 11 seconds, 8 passes, 1 goal. How do you? That is. You have to be very, very strong and back yourself up on the counter, as Real did all the time. And with Ronaldo and Bale steaming down both flanks, that is just space that not even Philipp Lahm on his day could stop.
Absolutely. That is very true.
Let alone Dani Alves last year. So, yeah, I think Pep Guardiola needs to rejig his philosophy a lot because it's catching up to him now.
Speaking of rejigging policies, Mr. Jose Mourinho, not so special after all, it seems. His negative style of football in all your years, again, do you agree with it? Because a lot of people don't.
No, I mean, in a way, there was this little sense of relief. Because the way Inter Milan won in 2010, playing this, packing the defense, just the counter-attack and not exhilarating counter-attack like Real Madrid. On pace, Gareth Bale and Cristiano Ronaldo exposed the defense on sheer pace. in the Inter Milan Jose Mourinho style is negativity. You know, you wear down the opposition like a battle of attrition. Somewhat, some of the Argentinian teams in the 60s used to play like that.
Yeah.
So Estudiantes and also, which is not football as a spectacle anymore. And you know, football is also now having to compete with many other sports which are getting worldwide. So Jose Mourinho definitely has been exposed. I mean, I look at this Champions League as the fall of the icons. Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, you know, the iconic coaches. And Guardiola, you know, it was a pleasant style. I think you need the players. You need a Xavi, Iniesta, Messi at their peak. Then you can play that style. You know, I've always felt there's no magic in any styles. You know, I mean, everybody, the total football. When you had Cruyff and Neskins, you could play total football. You can't get an Indian football team playing total football. We don't have the physique or that football intelligence to play like that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, Guardiola's, I think the failing is that he's so obsessed with the way he's playing football. He doesn't realize, does he have the personnel who can play that? Then you had Carlos Puyol at his peak, majestic defender, Busquets, you know, a tight defense and the three most brilliant players in the world.
You need essentially the great players to pull off
Then
the
you can
great
play that
football.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of the great players, we've got Deepto and Gibran on our Google Plus Hangout. Gibran, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're a big Ronaldo fan, we hear. You must be happy that he's broken Messi's record then.
Well, yeah, it's been high time he should do it. And I think he's had a great season. And he's scored a lot of Champions League goals. And in fact, if we see the years before, even when Messi was winning the Ballon d'Or, I think he was keeping a really good record of scoring good goals.
Do you think he's a shoo-in now for the Ballon d'Or this year?
Definitely.
Well, he's
Yeah.
four shy of breaking the all-time Champions League record set by Raul, I believe it was, back in the day.
But I think he'll do that as well. But
Do you think he's going to
because-
score 4 in the final? Is he going to do it this year? Is he going to score 4 in the final?
Well, I can't say that for sure, but well, I'm pretty sure he might score in the final. Yes,
Fantastic.
considering he's going back to Portugal to play the final. So
That is true. That's his old stomping ground in Lisbon, absolutely. Deepto, are you there with me, friend?
Yeah.
Who are
I'm
your
there,
key-
I'm there.
Gareth Bale also, though he didn't score, was an influential figure last night. Can you tell me what you thought about his play?
Well, definitely he was an influential figure. I mean, every time Real Madrid won the ball in the center of the midfield, they were playing out to the flanks, either Ronaldo or Bale. And look at that second goal, the third goal which Ronaldo scored. It was Gareth Bale's incessant pace, which like he just took on the central defender and just passed it to Ronaldo. I mean, that pace is just tremendous. Bale, Ronaldo, I mean, that's the best football you can ever see.
Fantastic. I want to jump back to you guys and the managers again because it seems to be a lot of their influence going on. Jose's tactics last night, somehow in terms of the squad he selected, let's say Oscar not being used and not giving them an attacking option. What would you have done? What would you have done instead of what he did?
Well, I thought the biggest surprise was playing Azpilicueta
On
little
the
up
right
front
wing, yeah.
and then, bringing back Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
You know, Ashley Cole hasn't featured so much this season.
And he was having a good game as far as I could tell.
Yes, he was all right, but I mean, Azpilicueta was used out of position. So either you should have played Schürrle there or Oscar. There wasn't enough creativity in Chelsea. And Jose Mourinho has constantly been running down his strikers, so he seems uncertain whether it's Eto'o or Dembaba or Fernando Torres. So it's like you don't have a striker. And I think they got a little complacent that 1-0 up at Stamford Bridge, nobody could touch them. But the intensity of Atletico Madrid, that is what really made the difference.
Yeah.
That belief that Simeone has instilled in them that they can take on anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And I think clever also that they needed one away goal. They got that and then they said, let's go for a win. They didn't
So-
sit back and defend it.
That is very true.
So I think
That
he
is
was
very
very
true.
clever, Simeone.
Yeah.
He outwitted Mourinho.
And he gets behind his players. He's
Oh,
almost
yeah.
their 12th man on
and
the
you
pitch.
you can see on the pitch. It's funny we see this happening 2 years in a row with Dortmund, the underdog team. Jurgen Klopp guiding his
got in
troops to
there,
the
yeah.
final. The same thing with Simeone. There's something about this Atletico team that whenever they get the ball, They do not want to pass back. They do not want to pass sideways. They're looking for their men on the front. And the way they were distributing the ball, I don't think even a Real Madrid defense could have stopped them. And we've seen that through the La Liga season. They've not lost. They might have not won, but they've not lost either. So this is going to be a feisty affair in Lisbon.
Who was your top Atletico player from last night?
I think Arda, it's a split between Arda Turan and Thibaut Courtois. Man, was he composed in goal. That save of that Terry header, because in that same minute, the reaction from Jose Mourinho was that a minute changed the match, wherein he made that save, they went on the break, and Costa got the penalty. So that minute changed the match for him. But I don't think Jose has any excuses for last night. He was outwitted, outplayed. The energy was eons above Chelsea. They could not match Atletico's energy. On the break, in defense, resolute, beautiful football. That's why we root for the underdogs, don't we?
We always root for the underdogs.
That's why we root for the underdogs.
Absolutely. But one underdog who I don't think anyone was rooting for on the Chelsea team, Deepto, was Schwarzer at 41 as he spent. Deepto?
Yeah, Aditya.
Schwarzer, Chelsea's goalkeeper, their second choice because Cech was out, really didn't match up to his opposite number on the other team, did he?
Definitely, he did not match up to his opposite number. I think he could have done a little better, although circumstances never favored him. With the first goal and the third one, he was out of position in both both the goals. He was out of position, but I think he could have done a little better. Keeping in mind, amount of crucial saves Courtois had, and the reflexes he showed in front of goal. Definitely, he was outwitted by his counterpart.
And Gibran, are you there with me? Yeah. Fernando Torres versus Diego Costa. Obviously, Costa is tried and tested. When it comes to Spain in the World Cup, do you think Torres, despite scoring a goal, will get a run in?
Torres has not been in form in the last few seasons at Chelsea. And he's sort of just recovering his form back at Chelsea. That's what I feel. Whereas Costa has had a great season. And I think he's just changed sides over to Spain from Brazil. And so I think Costa is going to be a lightly better option than Fernando Torres at the World Cup.
Right. Now, how big of a loss is Xabi Alonso for Real Madrid in this final?
No, massive loss, because I thought he had an excellent, in the first match, which they won at home 1-0, I thought he was the man of the match. So Xabi Alonso now has matured. With Liverpool, he was playing a more attacking game, getting the ball forward. Now he is matured, and because with Spain also he plays that role of the defensive, sitting in front of the back for sweeping, passing on. So no, I think it's a major loss. I really don't think they have a player like that. And considering Atletico Madrid relies so much on it's not possession but space, dominating space and the speed at pace. The speed which they try and dominate the space. So it's really going to make a big difference.
So, but speaking of players on song,
Luka
if you
Modric.
must have noticed, yes, we both watching the game together. That guy has three lungs at this point. He was tracking everyone down. He didn't give Sweeney a yard of space, a minute of patience. He was closing down spaces. So even if they get Khedira back in for Alonso and give Luka Modric that running role across your back four and that sweeper, I think they'll be
But
pretty
defensively, can he do the job?
But then that's where you install Khedira right in front of the defense to do the hard yards, don't you?
Right.
Because for someone like a Gabi to come across Khedira and then pass the ball to Luka, who has been on song for the past month and a half.
But I don't think Khedira will be fit.
Yeah,
will he be fit?
Who do you
doubt.
sacrifice then if you put Khedira in?
No. Alonso will be
Alonso
an automatic
has
disqualification,
Alonso
right?
has to
Yes.
So,
Speaking of player flaws as well, Eden Hazard, although having him back obviously helped Chelsea's case as little as it could, defensively he pretty much led to both of their goals. You think that's just not fitness, or is he was played in the wrong position?
No, I think it's bad day in office. Maybe not fully fit. He didn't backtrack. Both the first and third goals, there were those yawning gaps. The player had yards of space and time, and players of that commitment and quality. Atletico Madrid is like a team with a mission. There's a sort of fanatical zeal about them, which makes it very difficult to stop. And so definitely, Eden Hazard didn't have the best of games. In fact, no Chelsea player really, lived up to expectation. And Eden Hazard has just been chosen best young player by the
That was
professional.
again, I think he's still going to take time. The way they say, oh, he's going to be the next Ronaldo, the next Messi.
it's-
Ronaldo and Messi were doing brilliant things when they were his age.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype.
It's a lot of hype.
Also a lot of money.
Also a lot of money, sure.
Actually, and speaking of money, fun fact for you guys, Real Madrid have spent over 905 million pounds since the last time they won, and 10 managers, mind you. Guys, what do you think of that? Please do write in with your comments on who you thought was good or not, who you think is going to win the finals at India Post Live, and hashtag India Post Live to that as well. Now, I wanted to, because when I was watching the match with you, you explained how Sergio Ramos was their secret weapon. Tell the viewers why that is and how they built
I
up to
think
this.
if you must have also seen the games in the past week in La Liga, every time Real Madrid went on the break, Sergio Ramos came sprinting across the field and was trying shots of open play, not just set pieces. And he actually got a goal against that 4-0 win against Osasuna last week. So they've been trying this against Bayern. They were practicing, and it was so brilliant to see. That's why I think Carlo Ancelotti for me is the #1 manager there is. That's why Manchester United are running helter-skelter for him, because he uses that resource, brings him out on not only on free kicks, not only on corners, but general counters when you need aerial presence. I think he for them was a potent weapon in defense and in attack, as we saw day before yesterday. So he was solid as a rock there, and surprisingly he was not marked. In both of those goals, he was not marked. Free headers.
2 points emerge on this. One is, of course, the defensive frailty of Bayern Munich, which we've talked about, and which somehow, in recent times, Guardiola's teams seem to have developed. That does show that maybe he's not a good coach on defensive organization. At that time, he had an outstanding Barcelona defense, which especially led by somebody like Carlos Puyol. So when you don't have that type of defenders, he just so much concentrates on attack. And also Xavi, Iniesta and that whole lot were winning the ball back in 3 seconds.
That's right.
Which Bayern Munich has not been able to do. I think Bayern Munich is caught between, in no man's land. Whether we play the athletic game, the type Heinkes wanted us to play, use the aerial ball, or, the typical German speed, possession. And this is a totally different type of game.
I think it's all a question of horses for courses, sir. These players are not suited for the Barcelona
Not suited
game.
for the Barcelona.
Schweinsteiger will get you the ball. Kroos will give you that through ball.
Yes.
But you can't keep having 5-yard passes with Robin Ribery left stranded without the ball.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Exactly.
Yes, but I think Ramos, has matured also into one of the great defenders of the world.
A little violent.
Yeah, little one. Yes.
And he has that thing for cards, sir.
Yeah, that is true. But otherwise, his tackling, interception, and now that, as you rightly said, that developing that ability to go forward and score goals.
Guys, back on Google Hangout. Deepto, the penalty that Costa got last night, Eto'o with the foul, clear penalty for you?
Yeah, it was a penalty. He clearly didn't win the ball. Definitely, it was a penalty, and it was a typical striker's tackle. He couldn't tackle the ball at all, never close to the ball, and he completely got his side of his calf, and I think that's a penalty.
And
What
are your thoughts on Samuel Eto'o when he came to Chelsea? Were you happy with it, or do you think he's past his prime?
Yeah, he's past his best, but I think they needed a striker definitely, and Jose completely believed in him, and I think he's the one who's kept them alive in the Premier League, absolutely scoring goals whenever required. But on the Champions League, I don't think he did any good last night. I don't know why he was brought on. So, I mean, Ashley Cole was clearly doing good on the left, and I don't know. I mean, you could have gotten Schürrle in place of him, giving more chances on the counterattacks on the wings, and getting Eto'o. I mean, Torres already scored a goal. You don't need one more striker. You could have to do with the winger, and I think that's a clear tactical miss from Jose did last night.
Gibran, hypothetically, if Chelsea had raided Atletico Madrid this year and taken Courtois back and perhaps signed Costa like they're planning to do you think they would have done it last night?
Well, I think so. They would have had better chances because, first of all, Courtois, I think, is a much better keeper than Chelsea's current reserve keeper. And second of all, Costa, I think, for me, is in a very good form this year. He's done fantastically in the local league. He's done very well in the Champions League. And I think he's done better than Fernando Torres throughout the year. So I think, yeah.
And Atletico, they played such great possession. Once they'd taken the lead, it was, I mean, and they kept so cool. That is something that the players, do you think, have developed, or is that from the manager who's told them to, you know?
I think it's a little bit of both, because you can see it on the pitch. Even
It's
when,
heated, you know,
even when they were winning 2-1, 3-1, you could see Diego Simeone shouting at his wingbacks to say, "Cover your ground, get in your overlaps." They were progressing as a team throughout the pitch, so you could see that there is no holding back. There is no stopping at the corner and dilly-dallying with the ball. It's when you're going forward, go forward. There is no other way through it. So I think it's a little bit of that Diego Simeone hard as nails attitude and this Atletico team who's been together for the past 2.5 years together. So I think they know each other's strengths and weaknesses very well, because that second goal that Turan scored, they just went out.
Yeah.
And you could see that when their players were converging in, they knew exactly where to be. There is no barging into each other, because a lot of times they were in the same position in the same part of the pitch. But the thought process is so clear that I need to be here because you're here, and I'll help you what you want to do with. That their game plan in every one of them on the pitch was absolutely clear, and you could see that.
So then also Simeone's choice to, Turan back from injury and then Adrian Lopez to start. When you saw the lineup, did you agree with that? Well, I mean, clearly it worked, but...
Yeah, it worked. No, it was an interesting choice. I think, Lopez was hungrier. He hadn't scored, he hadn't played. So he gave him an option. And then when he felt, Simeone as a successful coach is somewhat like Ferguson, is a bit ruthless. You don't play on sentiment. When he saw that Lopez was tiring, he replaced him.
And sir, he was also on a yellow card, and he was kind of getting into the middle of the pitch.
Yes.
So he wanted to
was
save him for the
was
final.
Very sensible. He wanted to save him for the final. It's remarkable that he's, what I think is a nice point, the Borussia Dortmund. It's good for football that teams which are not spending so much, they're finding a way, either through the work ethic, intensity, or commitment and speed, that you're reaching the final of arguably the greatest tournament in the world, in the UEFA Champions League, which may be in qualities even greater than the World Cup.
True.
I mean, it could be sacrilegious to say that, but it is actually. So, it's a wonderful thing for football. We've had Borussia Dortmund with Jurgen Klopp and a whole lot of exciting young players. Now Atletico Madrid, who, I remember 40 years ago, they were 90 seconds away from winning what was then the European Champions Cup against, ironically, Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich's defender, Schwarzenbeck, who'd never scored a goal in his life, let fly. That was that old German team, determined. So he moved up and let fly from 30 yards, and it somehow dipped.
Yeah.
He could never do it for the rest of his football career. 1-1, those days there was a replay, and the Germans hammered them in the replay. So, maybe they feel it's their date with destiny 40 years from now.
Well, we all love the underdog story, and as far as the head-to-head goes with these guys, they've met 5 times already this season. Guys on the Hangout, who do you think is going to do it? Because Atletico have won once in the league and drawn once, and in the cup, okay, 5-0 to Madrid. So what is it going to be? Is it going to be cup style, or is it going to be league style? What do you think is going to happen when these two square off? Gibran, go for it.
I think Real.
Oh, signal gone. we've lost him. Deep, though, go ahead and take that in.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, so Atletico versus Real Madrid,
these two sides
the 5 games that they've played so far, from what you've seen, if you've seen any of those games, who do you think is going to come ahead in the final?
That's going to be a tough one. On a personal choice, I would really want Real to win it. I think they deserve it. It's been like 12 years since without the Champions League, and I want Real to win it personally, but I think it's going to be a really tough job for them getting that midfield in control, because they've been knowing to have ball-winning midfielders. They win the ball in the midfield, they play it on the flanks, they like to play in channels, and Madrid have to be solid in their defensive and midfield area, central midfield primarily. They have terrific wingers, but if they can stop that, if they can stop Atletico on the counter and win the ball and the right channels and play in the right areas, I think Real should edge this, but it's not going to be easy. Simeone is a very good tactician, and he's shown it over the past 2 seasons since he's arrived at Atletico since 2011. He's won trophies and he's shown it. So I think it's going to be a tough one for Ancelotti.
Gibran, we lost you just earlier for a second. Deepto went ahead and stole your question, but I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid, again, the underdog story. Do you think money counts for everything?
Well, well, that's there are two
Collective, let
options
me
where
put it, let me
sometimes
put it
with
this
the
way.
case of Real
Collectively,
Madrid, you can say that yes, money does count because we've seen them buy Gareth Bale for like 100 million this year, and Gareth Bale has proved himself. And if you see the Atletico side, they're all I don't think they've hardly bought any players, and I think it's going to be a good clash between the two because both the sides know each other and they face each other in the league and all. This is the first time they're facing each other in the Champions League final. So I think it'll be a different game than you see in the league.
all right, gentlemen, we're coming to the end of our segment today. Chaitanya, your final comments on the Champions League
I think
final
it's not
to
going to
come.
matter.
Who's gonna win it?
I think it's not going to matter if it's a Champions League final or not, wherever it is. This is Atletico versus Real. This is a Madrid derby.
We haven't really spoken about that.
They're going to
severity
play it
of
that way. There's going to be a lot of hatred on the pitch. There's going to be a lot of bad blood. And to be honest, you would see Real as odds-on favorites, but you never know with this Atletico team. So fingers crossed with... I think what will matter is that home support that Ronaldo gets in Portugal. Yeah. That might weigh in as the 12th man and Real might edge it, but stranger things have happened.
So score for you. What's the score?
3-2 to Real. Ronaldo to score a brace.
3-2 to Real. Sir, your final thoughts?
See, my worry is, fingers crossed as he's saying, is that it's an interesting final. As a neutral, one wants to see exhilarating final. I have doubts because in recent past, whenever it's been teams from the same country, they've met each other so often. Like Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich was interesting but not great.
Very cagey affair.
Very cagey affair.
Very, very
Manchester United, Chelsea went to penalties at Moscow. It was just the history part which was more. If I go back to AC Milan, Juventus in 2003, was again, not something you'll tell the grandchildren about.
Right.
So one hopes it's a match which is interesting, which could be pacey, and the Cristiano Ronaldo factor could be very vital, the 12th man. And also who's won the Spanish league by then. The team which has lost will be hungrier to at least, suppose Real Madrid don't win the Spanish league, they've won nothing. So, then they could be or Atletico, they'll be like wounded tigers if they miss out on the Spanish league.
So far.
So, yes, so close so far, which will probably never happen maybe in the next 5 years because a lot of their players are going to be bought. These poorer clubs, it's very difficult to maintain, as Borussia Dortmund found out.
Absolutely.
So, I think that is going to be the decisive factor. Who has lost the Spanish league? Because I think Barcelona is ruled out. It's between the two Madrid teams. But also there is Borussia Dortmund and Bayern they have a rivalry, but not as intense as Atletico and as the Madrid derby. So it will be a very intense match. And I think the one who will be the most worried is the Spanish coach. Vicente Del Bos, because he's got a World Cup coming in 2 weeks. And some of his star players are going to go, sort of completely.
So prediction for you, sir?
And definitely a goal-scoring final. It shouldn't go to penalties. I'm quite sure it would be. And 2-1 or 3-1, even I'd give Real Madrid the advantage.
And guys, your predictions, Gibran, what's the score for you? Who do you think is going to win, and what's the score going to be?
I think 3-2 Real Madrid.
3-2 Real Madrid. Deepto, score prediction.
I guess maybe 2-1.
You can't say 3-2 because now 2 people have said it. Sorry, what was that?
Okay.
What was your score, Deepto?
2-1. I'll go for 2-1.
2-1 it is.
2-1.
Right, well, everyone's going to be hungry for it. As Mr. Kapadia mentioned, Atletico Madrid is 4 points clear of Madrid on the table, so whoever wins that league, that is going to be really interesting. Of course, Atletico have not won anything in Europe since '74, and Madrid are going for la décima, and Ronaldo is going for the coveted top scoring and all sorts. So there's a lot of cool stuff to watch on May the 24th when those two teams square off in Lisbon. Thank you so much for joining us today on Twitter. Thank you so much today for joining us in the studio, and guys on Google Hangout. The rest of you, don't forget to participate on Twitter using our handle IndiaPostLive @IndiaPostLive with the hashtag again IndiaPostLive. Everybody, thank you. It's going to be an excellent game coming up. I hope you guys all enjoy it, and we're going to be back to discuss a lot of that crazy, crazy action from the final, I'm sure. Gentlemen, thank you. Guys, thank you. And thank you over there.